Good evening and good morning to everyone. First, let me start by paying homage to the Buddha, the Dhamma, and the Sangha with my highest respect. I am Bhikkhu Kai Sophea on Buddhasāsanā Program of the Cambodian Buddhist Monk Society in USA, or CBMS, tonight. This is our second time to do our online broadcasting on CBMS Facebook page. After discussing with our president, Venerable Seng, and other senior board members, we have decided to choose the topic for our discussion tonight, namely spiritual and medical healing. As can be seen throughout the whole world, that we are all in the process of fighting and healing our sufferings that being caused by COVID-19 pandemic. Therefore, we are going to elaborate deeper in three particular areas, which we hope that it could be the best antidotes for our viewers to fight this crisis. Those areas of discussing are Buddhist spiritual healing, psychological healing, and medical healing. To deliver and sharing the best knowledge on those fields, we have invited three specialists to help us explore a better understanding on its procedures of healing. Our first expertise on Buddhist spiritual healing is Venerable Seng Yeath, who had just graduated his postdoctorate from Harvard Divinity School. He will be leading us on reducing or eliminating our suffering based on the Buddha's teaching. Secondly, Venerable Chanthy, who is currently studying master degree in psychology. So he will be sharing with us the methods of healing based on psychology. Based on psychology theories. Lastly, Dr. Wayne Altman, who is specialized in medicine. He will be helping us on medical healing. So once again, I would like to welcome all of you for joining us on Buddhasāsanā tonight. So I would like to jump through to Dr. Wayne first, because you are our special guest for tonight. So before I begin, I would like to inform you that as a host for this program, I have no clue or knowledge about medical things. So unexpectedly, you might end up having a silly or ambiguous question from me. So I am apologizing in advance. So about medical things, I would like to ask you based on my common sense and common feeling. So to the best of your knowledge, how are you protecting yourself and your family when you see this kind of crisis? So can you share with us the knowledge that you are protecting your family, yourself, and people around you every day, so people can understand how they can protect themselves too? Thank you.
Thank you for. Are you able to hear me okay?
Yes, I can hear you.
Wonderful. I think that I'm really very honored to be joining you all, and thank you for inviting me to join you. This is such an important time for the entire human race and for the entire planet. We have always been one human race and together, but I think a lot of people, it's been very easy to forget that we are all together as one human race, and that how one person or one country or one community behaves can affect everybody. And there's so much tragedy with this pandemic, and at the same time, I think there are some blessings that we are learning, that we are all connected and that we're all together. So to come back to your question, at my home, my family, my three sons and my wife and myself have been spending most of our time at home and not leaving our home. When we go to buy food, when we leave the house really for anything, we're wearing a mask, and at the grocery store for food, wearing gloves to protect ourselves and to protect other people. And you almost have to imagine that everybody you see is potentially infected with COVID-19. And probably the single most important thing that you can do to protect yourself while you're out in public is to wear a mask. And so I'm a physician, and I see patients, but I've been seeing patients 1 day a week. And the other days I've been talking to patients by video or by telephone. And so so I do leave my house for work, but other than that, I'm pretty much home with my kids and my wife.
Thank you. And by the way, I want to catch up a little bit about, in your medical expert communities, how are you feeling over this? And then, there's a thing that being scared, sometimes can lure us into a situation, but being smart can help us to protect ourselves and people around us. So what would be your message to the people that be smart but not scared, and then we can live through this kind of a crisis together safely?
Well, I think that what we're experiencing now, none of us have ever experienced before. Never on the planet have we all experienced something like this together. It's really quite extraordinary. And so I think people are feeling scared. I think people are feeling sad. People are feeling anxious, maybe depressed, lonely. And all of those are normal. It's okay to feel those things. And there are, of course, strategies that we can talk about how to deal with that. But I think that we also can remember our many blessings that we have in our life. And one simple technique when you're feeling scared or anxious or sad or lonely is to, at the end of each day, to write down 3 things that you feel grateful for on that day that happened to you or your family that day. And that very simple practice, there's medical evidence that shows that that is just as good as taking medication for depression, that simple practice.
Thank you. And then another thing I want you as a medical expert to share with our Buddhist communities, because a lot of right now many monasteries across the U.S. and many other monasteries in the world, people are being scared of going to the temple to that they are practice social distancing, but there is something that is very important for them. Sometimes someone passed away and then they need to go to see or invite monks. So what would be their practice, and then what would you advise them to to be safe while still can go to the monastery and see a few monks, and then how can they keep the distance, and then what would be your message to them? Thank you.
Yeah, this is so hard, right? Because so many people, their spiritual practice is very important to them. And to come to the monastery and to pray and to chant and to be with their community is very important to them and helps them feel better about themselves, about the world around them. And to be told that you can't do that is very upsetting to a lot of people. And I think in general, for the moment, it is still a good idea and more safe to stay at home. However, if there is some special event, a funeral, a wedding, or some other special event that you feel it's very important to go to the monastery to be there, I think if you're in a smaller group and you're wearing a mask and you're staying 6 feet away from people, I think you can feel safe and not scared to do that as long as you take those reasonable precautions. I would ask, do you know if the monastery that you go to, is there hand sanitizer at the entrance of the monastery for everybody to wash their hands?
Yes, we have those things.
Right, of course. So if everybody's washing their hands when they come, and wearing the mask and keeping a reasonable distance from each other, and it's not too big of a crowd, then I think people can be at peace and at ease if they're coming for a special event. I'll add that this 6 feet of distance, if you're trying to wonder what is 6 feet, if you can put your hands out in front of you like this, and the other person can do the same thing, and your fingers don't touch, that's 6 feet.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you. So, as you mentioned about the depression, the suffering that a lot of people are experiencing, I would like to turn the question to Venerable Yonsei Yeath to help us understand based on the Buddhist spiritual healing. So, Venerable Yonsei Yeath, thank you again for joining us for tonight on this program. And my question to you is that in Buddhist philosophy and or Buddha's teaching, in order to overcome suffering, we need to be able to identify what caused our suffering, and then apply the method to into practice, and then we can have. So help us to understand this. So what was the Buddha's method when we are facing a severe suffering? So can you help us more that what sort of method, what sort of ideas that the Buddha has taught to his disciple or share with all of us that we can keep those knowledge and put into practice for our daily life. Thank you.
Thank you, Venerable Moderator, for inviting me to be part of this program again. And as we already hear from Dr. Van explaining all the effective remedies to prevent the infection of this virus, as you guys were just talking about it, and I'm gonna talk from Buddhist perspective. In Buddhism, as we already know, that the Buddha, in his first sermon, he clearly said that suffering is part of our life, that we are living with the suffering in our daily life, and the suffering comes to our life in different forms. And the first thing that we can do is, according to the Buddha's teaching, when we face any hardships or difficulties or suffering, the first thing to do is not to panic. We have to sail through this hardship wisely and mindfully. For example, now we are facing the deadly virus known as COVID-19, and first thing is we have to listen to the health expert, how to take care of ourselves and follow the instructions given. And from the second thing is we have to, when our society is sick, we must not allow ourselves to be sick as that society. For example, if we go to see the sick people, we cannot pretend to be sick, meaning that we should not take things over seriously, mean more than it is. For example, while we are facing the virus, we should not panic and take those things more than it is. And this is the first step. In Buddhism, we call this is the dukkha. Dukkha means the sufferings, or the second meaning can be rendered into English as the flood of change. This is a natural phenomenon happening in the human world, that things get changed, moving around, moving forward. That is, natural phenomena. This world cannot be stopped changing. It keeps changing all the time. That kind of situation is called in Buddhism as a dukkha, the everlasting change of the nature. Now we are facing this difficulty. So from Buddhist point of view, first, please try to understand what is the reality of the virus. Now everybody got to know that this virus is preventable. If we take instructions given by the medical expert, as Dr. Van has already told us, things can be prevented and can be combating effectively. So first, try to understand what is going on, which is called the suffering.
Thank you. But another thing is that, you know, a lot of people, when we are impacted or affected by this, you know, it existed in our mind, and then it is very difficult to let go of it. You know, we keep thinking, and then when the thing is not reducing, and then it's going more serious or severe impact to us as an ordinary people. For those, I mean, help me to understand this. I mean, in case you are talking to ordinary people who know nothing about Buddhism or who are not in faith at all, you know, so sometimes maybe at this critical moment they might need some sort of message that can comfort them. So what would be your message, and then how can you share with us, you know, as an ordinary people?
We are living in the world which is we are living in the world which is affected by the law of the nature. So there is in life there is something which we have to accept, the unpleasant things which are happening. So the first thing, for example, now we are in a situation of being locked down the whole world, not only one country or one families, and people are stressed out, deeply depressed, are not happy. You know, we can see some demonstration happening in many parts of the world. In that case, whether we like it or not, we have to accept the reality. This is the first step to deal with the hardship or the difficulties. If we have no common sense to recognize that this thing is existing, then we cannot go, we cannot move to the second step. If we cannot accept that this is the reality which is happening in our society, then we are not able to take it seriously in terms of prevention or take care of ourselves. And I believe that most people are able to accept that this is the reality which is happening in our world.
So you mean that we need to keep our mind open to
No,
anything?
what I'm trying to say is, first we must accept that there is a virus. It is not joke. It is not fake. It is real. First, we have to accept the reality that there is the existence of coronavirus, which is happening across the globe. Okay. If we don't accept that, we have no other options to prevent it or to take care of ourselves.
Okay, thank you. Now I would like to turn to Venerable Chanthy from Phoenix, Arizona. While I speak a little bit fast, because, like, you know, I'm sorry, because it's kind of nervous. So I will try to be slow and clear so that our viewers can understand us better. So now I would like to turn our attention to Venerable Chanthy from Phoenix, Arizona. So psychologically, so as you are studying psychology at the moment, so psychologically, you know, more or less this coronavirus impacted on us, and you know, and I've read some journal about American people. They mentioned that 1 in 5 American people are having the mental issues. So, according to your studies on psychologists, what would be the methods to protect us, to prevent us from this kind of crisis? You know, when we are consuming the news or people talk around, so that will be imprinted within ourselves. So, what would be the best method, the best way of protecting ourselves based on psychology? Thank you.
Thank you, Venerable Kai Sophea, that allow me to join this program. And first of all, I would like to pay my respect to the Triple Gem and all the Venerable Mahasangha, especially the most Venerable Etymony, the President of Cambodian Buddhist Monk Society in USA, and our two venerable, especially Venerable Dr. Johnson Yeath as our speakers here, and good evening to our Dr. Vance and every audience also. Psychologically, that we actually we come across also from here now that Dr. Vance and Venerable Dr. Johnson Yeath have also mentioned about medical points and Buddhist points of views about how the coronavirus and crisis affect the world and the people. Psychologically also mention almost similar or the same to the points of view. I just mentioned first two important things that all people, especially here, American people, that affected, as you mentioned, that 1 among 5 have affected by mental problem because of this crisis. Here, psychologists mentioned that the very important factors is to accept the reality, accept that this coronavirus, it will affect the world, it will affect the society. So you have to accept the reality. You have to accept this is true. Like Venerable Dr. Johnson Yeath mentioned about the first noble truth, it is suffering. So you have to accept it. And then when you know it is suffering, when you know it is virus that can affect your health, it can attack the world and society, you have to be aware and take care of yourself. Health psychologists were mentioned about 3 steps of prevention: the primary prevention, secondary prevention, and tertiary prevention. The first prevention is very important because when people living in the pandemic world and then they want to be away from all of those viruses, they have to use the primary prevention by taking care of themselves. Like Dr. Altman mentioned that if you go out to the crowded areas or to the temple, you have to wear your mask and sanitize your hands and keep social distancing, the rule. That is the way how the people to understand about the virus and keep away from that thing. The first prevention. Yeah, I just mentioned that first. Thank you.
Okay, so the thing is that, for those who have a mental issues or mental problems, the most important thing to get them to the treatment is that we need to talk to them. But the problem is that most people who have mental issues doesn't like to talk to the people. So help us to understand is how can, as an ordinary people, like, how can we identify someone who might have mental issues? And then, if we are not going to talk or to, ask them to talk to an expert one, then that mental issues will be severely impact to their life. And then as I work with a Los Angeles mental department, a lot of people are having that problem because, sometimes they committed suicide because, and then the family members couldn't understand it because they are hardly talk to others. So in psychology, so how can we persuade those people, or how can we approach to those people and talk to them out? Because if you are not psychology problems, if they don't talk, if they don't speak it out, so they will always keep it inside. That is the biggest problems. So can you help us understand this a little bit, and what would be the best way to
Okay, thank you again for that question. We have to notify because there is cause and effect. Only 2 main things or 2 main factors. It is genetic factors and environmental factors are affected this person, the stressful person or the mental illness person. Genetic problem, we have to study about their their genetic, like from the lines of the family. So are the family affected with some kinds of stress or some kinds of this problem before? We study from the family, and we study also from the genetic about their blood, about their physical body, and something when especially in America, when firstborn, they will check everything, the blood or something that the medical provider will know clearly about it. And then the environmental factor, you have to pay much attention about the social support, how their support, the family support, the community support, or friend or somebody surround him, how they support, how the activity, how they live with them peacefully or some problem with them. So when you know the cause that affected him, then we will provide the right method how to cure them. And also there are other things like about the gender, about the age, about the ethnicity and social economic status. That is very important thing that we have to pay much attention also. People work very hard also can have such mental problem when it's burnout or overwork or much stress about in the company. And especially now when people affected by coronavirus in the world, so less people working in the same company and many work pointed to the one person. So many work also can affecting. So when you find the real cause, the real cause, and then you will find the good thing to hear them, especially about the sex. Sex means social economic status. It is about the income, about the GPA of living, about the salary. It is also very important. When you know that, and then you find some method to have them by the specialists about care specialists or psychologist specialists.
Thank you. I'm wondering whether Dr. Wayne is still with us. Okay, still with us. Thank you. I'm sorry for keep you waiting, Doctor. I would like to turn back to you with, as the coronavirus is asymptomatic, it's a very difficult for us to identify for someone who might have this virus or who might be a carrying this virus. So, what would be the best way of protect ourselves from those who are carrying the virus and without knowing that the person is infected? So can you share with us the knowledge of this?
Yes, it's very difficult because for some people, you can be infected with coronavirus and have no symptoms, but still be contagious to others. And for others, they become very sick and can even die from the coronavirus. So in that way, it makes it very difficult. And so you really have to assume that anybody around you in the public could be infected and could be a danger to you. And we were talking earlier about going.
What? I'm sorry, we couldn't hear you, sir. I can't see him. I can't see him. There's it's a technical issues here. So I would like to turn to Venerable Dr. Yeath. So because he's is cut off from us. So I would like to continue the question with you. And people are in a very dangerous situation at this moment, and we are severely suffering. So according to the Buddha's teaching, how can we develop our peaceful mind through with the teachings of the Buddha? So in order to live happy and peaceful, we need to have some sort of practice and a very mindful in our daily life. So how can we develop mindfulness and to keep our mind peaceful during this kind of suffering? Thank you.
At this moment, we are living in the severe depressed world, which most of the whole people in the world are deeply depressed because of this virus. And I want to add a little bit more to your first questions, asking how can we deal with this thing, accept the reality. In Buddhism, the Buddha had laid down 4 formulas known as Caturariya Satya, or in English as the Four Noble Truth. This is a very good and most effective formulas taught by the religious leader in the history of the human world. First, the Buddha say, let take it, call it. Now we are having a disease, and no doubt, and there is no question asking why there is disease. Just call it. Now there is disease. The epidemic is everywhere now. The infection is across the globe, has gone across the globe far and wide. We must accept that first. Second, we have to find out what is the reason. But this is related to the medical side, medical field. So the reason of the virus now, there are some scientists, medical experts are working day and night to find out where this virus came from. And the third one, we are now the health experts are working on how to produce the effective vaccines, to cure this virus. And the last one is we are waiting for the vaccines to be produced. And they say maybe soon, we don't know whether it is really soon or too soon, or we don't know. Now we are waiting. So we are depressed. Now my suggestion is, please accept the realities. This is the first point. And second things, it is very hard, I know, because I'm also depressed by this kind of, we are also affected by this lockdown, this situation. The reason is, once we accept the reality, it tells us that it gives us, some sort of passage that we can sail through these difficulties. Because when we accept the existence of the issues, then we can walk it wisely. We can walk through it wisely and mindfully. A very simple practice for Buddhist people or non-Buddhist. First, please cultivate your compassion in your family first, starting from yourself, with your spouses, your children, your relatives. Start from your home. The real happiness started from your home. And then we have to take care of the people around us too. And to take care of the people who are living around us is very simple. Is to take care of ourselves as instructed by the health expert. So starting from this simple practice, I think we can develop the mindfulness.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah,
first, you can say.
just one more things.
Okay.
Please don't try to hate or to discriminate against the infected people. They are the victims. So we have to know that, and we have to to open our mind to accept that their difficulties, their sufferings but not to, to isolate ourselves, to distance ourselves from the infected people doesn't mean that it is a discrimination against them. It is the way that to take care of ourselves and we to take care of the other people too. So please don't try to misunderstand. Isolation in this sense doesn't mean discrimination. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. So I would like to turn again to Dr. Wayne. Thank you for coming back to join us. When Dr. Johnson Yeath mentioned about the discrimination, during the HIV era, when it was like infected people during that time, a lot of people are, discriminate each other, and then it getting the virus getting worse because of this discrimination, because a lot of people do not have the knowledge that how can they protect themselves. So can you help us understand this and then share with us how can we, we do it in the right way, not discriminate each other, but being smart and then share our compassion and our loving kindness to each other so we can go through this together. Thank you.
Can you hear me okay now?
Yes, I can hear you.
I'm so sorry I was having technical difficulties. I'm glad to be back.
Thank you.
So I think this is such an important question. We have had many examples throughout history. There's been HIV, there's been leprosy, there's coronavirus, and we could think about many more examples if we wanted to, where sometimes human beings, they tend to get scared and then tend to be hateful towards other people, and they use their fear that generates hate towards other people. And I hope that we can learn from this coronavirus pandemic to love each other and be caring towards each other. It's so important. And I think that because we've been spending so much time away from others, I think many people are realizing how much they care about other people and how much they miss having connection with other human beings. And I hope that will motivate us even after this pandemic will be over. It doesn't feel like it will be over anytime soon, but it will be over someday. And when we look back, I hope that maybe the human race has learned a lesson about loving each other better, because we have a lot of room for improvement there.
Yes. Following with that, I want to ask you, and I want you to assure us that from your medical communities that to assure us that there will be vaccine. There will be vaccine to protect us from this virus. So can you assure us that from your hard working and within the medical communities and scientists and a lot of people who are participating in researching the vaccine to fight this virus, can you assure us how is it working right now? And then
I think we have every reason to believe that there will be a safe and effective vaccination for coronavirus, and I believe it will become available to us sometime in the year 2021. I don't know when, but I think sometime 2021, and that will be wonderful. And then all of the things that happened during this coronavirus, pollution cutting way down, war taking a pause, and people not fighting with each other. I wonder, when we have a vaccination and we can all get back to our busy lives again, I wonder if we'll remember what we learned about taking a pause from war and from pollution and taking better care of the planet that we are blessed to be on. I hope we will learn those lessons, but I do feel confident that we will have a vaccination sometime next year.
Thank you so much. So it's very important for us, while we are fighting this, while we are living through this hardship together, we need to have some kind of assurance that, oh, there will be protection, there will be some kind of vaccine someday, sooner or later, because because it gives us strength to fight this together. Otherwise, we are, a lot of people are going to lose hope. So, and then it makes us not just a small community, but especially the medical experts communities, they will be having more difficult times. So as a ordinary people, we want to give you the support that we are all behind you. That as from Buddhist communities, we want to express our sincere thank you for your working and for your hard working and keep us safe. We always keep the faith within medical communities, and that's why we want to invite you to join us and share with us your knowledge and your concern, and how can we all do our part to fight this virus. So then we are going to it's now 5:41, and I want to finish this within our time frame, which is 5:45 or until 6 o'clock. But I want to continue a little bit about psychology with Venerable Chanthy. Depressions. A lot of us are, sometimes we could identify that someone have a kind of depression. So, in psychology, what would be the best steps to fight or to get rid of some sort of severe depression? Sometimes we couldn't know that someone have this kind of depression. So, because of this particular crisis, there might be someone around us having a severe depression. So in terms of psychology's theories, what can you tell us? What can you share with us? Thank you.
Thank you again, Venerable Kai Sophea, the moderator. About stress coping, when people are stressful, and this stressful can make a problem, many problems, especially the health problem, because stress can affect your immune system. To reduce your immune system, affected the lymphocyte that protect the white blood cell that protect your body. So to be weak, and then you will affect many physical problems. So it is very important to understand the cause of the stress. And cause of the stress that I mentioned before also come out from many problems from the environment, like social support, like their work, like working areas, and also it is very important now the coronavirus also might stress for them. That's why the very most important thing, you accept the reality that we mentioned all together, and then you act like you are safe by very careful to work like nothing happened to you, even though you are painful, even you are stressful, but you work properly. And the coping method, how to remove the stress, many things like daily activity, like physical therapy, like listening music, or like watching short comedy, or something else. The easy way how to relax your body and mind. It is the way how to cope with stress. According to the Buddhist psychological perspective, the Buddha also mentioned seven methods how to remove, how to abandon the stress and the problem. Especially the first one, the Buddha said, Dasana Bahadapa in Majjhima Nikaya in Sabbasava Sutra. The Buddha said, first have to understand the reality by seeing. Dasana Bahadapa means to abandon by seeing the thing real, the cause, and this is the thing that happening. So you have to pay much attention to the cause, and then to the real thing, to the thing that happened in the present day, and then you have But they say you using something by using mean you use you eating, you going to shopping, or you using something that as possible, like clothes, like food or something. That is also the thing that you have to be aware. By using the proper thing, also can remove the stress and remove to keep you safety also. And then by parivajana, it's mean by removing some bad habits. If you remove some bad habits, like usually you go to shopping center and you touch this, you touch the iPhone, you touch the iPad or screen, something. But now it's very carefully. You don't need to touch a lot of things. You just be careful by yourself. It is that the Buddha said, parivajana paharapa. It's abandoned by removing your bad habit. And also mental culture is very important, because mental culture, you have to calm down your mind. Because in order to remove the stress, very important thing is to calm down your mind. Calm down your mind. Psychologically, they need to relax by activity, by yoga, by meditation, by physical therapy, by musical therapy, something like that. But the Buddha also said about meditation, about see the words as they are. So this is the thing that you can fight with the stress. And about the three most prevention programs, the first, second, and the third. The third is when you are affected and very you become you feel great suffer, and then you have to go to the hospital and follow the instruction of the doctor, and you have also to treat it by the doctor in instruction. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. That is the process of healing. So we are going. I'm going to end up this talk today. But before we finish, before we stop talking on this topic, I would like to give each of you 1 minute to say to our viewers, how to protect themselves, how to stay strong, and then how to be healthy. So I would like to start with Dr. Wayne. Can you give us your message to our audience? Thank you.
Yes, one thing I have not talked about tonight is how important it is to take care of your physical health. And if your body happens to encounter COVID-19 and your body and immune system are very healthy, then you are way more likely to be able to fight off that virus and for it not to even affect you, and for you to have immunity without ever getting sick. And if you can walk every day outside and have sunshine on your shoulders and taking steps every day, and if you can get good sleep and eat healthy food, these are the habits that are going to help you have physical health that will help you protect yourself from a coronavirus infection. And I wish you all peace and good health, and thank you for inviting me to be part of this presentation.
Thank you. So the next one, I would like to turn to Venerable Yeath. So could you please give your message to give us strength? And thank you.
For those who practice Buddhism, please kindly spend about 5 minutes per day to practice meditation at home. If you don't know how to practice this simple meditation, please check the website of the CBMS, or for those who speak English, we have various kind of program taught by the meditation master. And the other one is, please kindly observe the reality of this virus. And we also must accept that this whole world is deeply connected. This virus originated in China and it spread to the other parts of the world, and then it got infected someone in Africa and goes around by then. So meaning that this situation clearly tells us that the world is deeply connected, interconnected. If you take care of yourselves, meaning that you take care of the world. May the Buddha bless you all. Thank you.
Thank you. So now, lastly, Venerable Sam Chanthy, psychologically, how can we take care of ourselves? So thank you.
Let me recall to the two important things that I mentioned before. First, the health psychologist mentioned to accept you are suffer right now. You accept it, don't panic. And second one, even though you impacted, you work as you are healthy to fight it and take care of yourself from all the pandemic. This is the two important things that psychologists mention. So thank you again for inviting me to join this program. I am a little bit shocked and a little bit panicked, but it's okay. That thank you, and may all the three triple gems bless all of you, and wish you all happy and free from all suffering. Thank you.
Thank you. You've done a wonderful job, each and every one of you. But I want to tell our viewer that I'm sorry that we couldn't answer your question, because I want to stay focused on our topic. So I could ask our speaker and get the most knowledge from them to share with you all. So you can always pose this question, and we will keep those questions, and one day we will do a session that answer all the questions, and we will invite them back, and then this time we will only answer the question that you guys have posted in here. So thank you so much for joining us tonight for our topic, the spiritual and medical healing. We hope you all get some knowledge over this, and then use those knowledge to put into practice, and then keep yourself safe. And then, so you guys have a wonderful day. Thank you for joining us, and stay safe and stay strong. Thank you.